Do you think you want to go ahead and we'll begin?
That's fine.
Okay. Let me just say a couple of things before we do. Um, and when I sent out the message, the invite for the program, I mentioned a statistic that since 2018, something like 25%, there's been a 25% drop in people who are actually getting their TV via cable. Um, and that amounts to 48 million households. So there's a significant sea wave that's going on, and particularly if you look at the younger folks. Now, we seniors know that young folks often think they know more than they do. I mean, we have a lifetime of learning and experiences that we can fall back on that they don't have, but sometimes they absolutely do know more than we do, and particularly in the area of technology. And so that's why what Bruce is going to tell us, I think, is really important because he's not a young whippersnapper, but he is a senior who can help bridge that gap for us and fill us in on those things that younger folks know. And when you look at intentions to cut the cord in that particular young group, what you find is it's the majority of those folks who are doing away with it. So it's clearly the trend, but it's not something I know how to do. But I have a feeling in an hour, Bruce is going to make me able to make some decisions. So Bruce, thank you so very much for doing this for us. It is being recorded, so it will be up on the YouTube channel at a later point. So take it away, young man.
All right. Me bring it up here. All right. Um, Here we go. Let's take care of a couple of housekeeping chores initially. If you would, everybody mute your microphone, um, unless you're going to help me present this. And the second thing is, and every time I've been in one of these things, I've had the same people say the same thing is telling you to reduce the pictures and all. We can't, the speaker doesn't do that. You do that yourself. So if you see you've got all these, the column where you see people's faces, if you go up to the upper left-hand corner, there is what looks like a minus sign. If you click on that, you'll see everybody disappears. And it just leaves one line saying, I think it says talking Bruce Gibson. You can further get that out of the way if you just click on it and pull it up to the upper right corner, left corner, however you want to put it. That way you can see most of the screen. All right, so cutting the cord. What are we going to talk about today? First of all, we're going to have some introductory information, just kind of introduce you to the idea of cutting the cord. Then we'll talk about some things to consider in this process. And of course, the big thing everybody I think is concerned about is cost considerations. So we'll talk about that some. Then we'll talk about the technical requirements for cutting the cord, such as choosing your equipment. And also a big part of that is your broadband requirements. Then a little bit about content selection and the content that's out there for people to take advantage of. And finally, we'll talk about some recommendations on how to get started. Now, my goal in this is just to kind of get you comfortable with the idea of cutting the cord. It's not to provide an end all so that you can go out this afternoon and tell your cable company, I want to get rid of my cable subscription and cut the cord. This is more so just to ease you into it. I told Sandy at the Coffee and Conversation the other day, this presentation comes along with free consulting. If you want to consult with me on further on the process, if you get ready to do it, I'll be happy to do that. Just remember that my advice is worth what you pay for it. All right. Again, please mute your microphones. Okay, so what do we mean by cutting the cord? Well, put not so simply in Wikipedia in their way. In broadcast television, cord cutting refers to a pattern of viewers who referred to as cord cutters who cancel their subscriptions to multi-channel television services that are available over cable or satellite, dropping pay television channels or reducing the number of hours of subscription TV viewed in response to competition from rival media available over the internet. This content is either free or significantly cheaper than the same content provided via cable. A little bit more simply, the website LifeWire says that cord cutting means that a TV viewer cancels traditional cable or satellite service to receive TV programs via a different option, whatever those may be. Okay, so that's what cord cutting is. Here's a disclaimer though. We talk about cord cutting and we're not actually cutting the cord completely. With the one exception of digital antenna, which is also known as HD antenna, cutting the cord does not involve breaking all your connections to your ISP, your internet service provider. Now, I'm making the assumption as we go through this that everybody has internet available in their house or can get internet available in their house. And so you probably have a package that's cable subscription and also internet combined. And what we're talking about is getting rid of that cable subscription part, but keeping the internet part. So you're still going to need access to the internet. It just eliminates having that cable box or decoder in addition to it. All right, so why should we cut the cord? Well, one, it saves money, hopefully. There's no need to haggle over any kind of contracts or pricing. You can cancel or make changes whenever you want. That's the biggest thing that I have discovered about cord cutting is that you have no contracts that you have to keep service for a certain period of time. You get a lot more freedom with what you are using. There are far fewer commercials in most cases, and in a lot of cases, for an additional fee, you can get rid of commercials altogether. A lot of the services that we're going to talk about offer DVR. Now, some cases, you have a physical unit. More and more, we're moving to cloud DVR, so that it's out there. They keep it for you. There's no actual physical equipment that you have to worry about. The next thing is there's just so much to stream. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of streaming that are available to you. There are many ways to stream. We're going to talk about just a few of those. It's easier than dealing with cable. It goes back to the no contracts. Once you set your internet up and you're happy with that, you're your own boss. You can stream a lot of live sports. That's a big concern that a lot of people have about switching to cord cutting is, can I still see my football games, baseball games, whatever? And that is true. You can get live sports. You have to do some digging to find out where to get your sports, but they're out there. This last year, my family, we watched the Super Bowl on YouTube. We saw the World Series last year after cutting the cord. So live sports are out there. News is the same way. There's 24-hour news without having any kind of cable subscription. And finally, there's also a lot of local channels. If you use a digital antenna, we'll talk about digital antennas here in a few minutes, but it's amazing to find out that there are a lot more channels out there than you think there are. And finally, cutting the cord is the future. This is the direction that broadcast is going to. And how do I know this? Well, I ran across this article just recently. So AT&T is spinning off all of its cable, the DirecTV, AT&T TV, Now, and Uverse. They're spinning that off to a separate corporation. They've partnered with a venture capital company. So AT&T is seeing the writing on the wall that cable is not the future of television. Now, some things that you probably need to consider before you make the switch. The first is my internet up to the task? Most experts recommend that you have a download speed of 50 to 100 megabytes per second. I'm just going to call that Mbps from now on, instead of trying to get that all out. But ultimately, 200 is preferred, but that's only if you've got multiple devices. Now, in my household, usually we got 3 televisions going and tablets and all kinds of things. And so that's the kind of thing where you need that maximum. It's possible to stream with as little as 25 Mbps, but it's not as reliable. Today, the average internet speed in the US is under 20. So you may have to soup up your internet speeds a little bit. The next thing is, do you have a contract for your cable? Usually when you sign up for a cable program, you sign up for at least a 2-year contract. How much longer do you have on that contract if that's the case? What are the cancellation terms? Usually, if you cancel your contract, then you have to pay a certain amount depending on how far out you are from the contract ending. Another idea is, if you're going to change to internet only, will your provider allow you to not pay that cancellation fee to switch just to internet? Or maybe they'll minimize the cancellation fee. You'll find that they want to retain your business, so they'll work with you as far as coming up with the best combination for you. The next thing is, what's my budget? Average cable packages today in the US are about $217 a month, and that includes television, cable television, and internet. However, the average internet only cost is $60 a month. So you can see there's a big gap there as far as if you have the cable package and internet versus just having internet. The next is, what are your viewing habits? And this is a biggie. Do you prefer live programming or on demand? Do you like the traditional network television? Are there other things that you could watch instead? And then how many of the channels that you have with your cable package do you actually watch? Most cable packages will boast of having 120 or 200 plus channels, but how many do you actually watch? At the case in my family, back when we had cable television, we probably didn't watch more than 15 or 16 channels at all. So all those others are just go to waste. You look at all those, the chopping channels, the religious channels, the channels that are in other languages that you're not going to need. Well, with cutting the cord, you're better able to just watch the channels that you want and you actually need. All right, a little bit about the cost. This is pooled nationwide. I don't know that it actually fits for our area because it's almost impossible to find out from going on to the sites for these different companies what the actual cost is. But AT&T packages right now, this is just for the cable package, cable programming. It's about $93 is the lowest that you pay, $183 if you want 140 channels plus. Comcast is $60 for 120 and $80 for 200. Again, I do not swear to these prices, but it's comparable here in this area. DirecTV, $102 starting out, going up to $151. Dish Network is $100 for 190 channels, up to $125 for 290. Again, how many of those are you going to actually use? But then if you look at the cost of just the internet, you're looking at $55 for 75 megabytes per second, with a 1 terabyte data limit, up to 80 for 1,000. Nobody needs 1,000 unless you're a business and you've got dozens and dozens of pieces of equipment that are running off the internet. 1 terabyte of data, and data is a big part of what you need to look at, but I doubt seriously anybody's going to use 1 terabyte of data. We average, again, there's 3 of us and we're using devices all the time. We have a bad habit of falling asleep with our televisions on. And so we probably use as much data as anybody that I know. And we usually run between 300 gigabytes and 400 gigabytes a month. So you can see it doesn't go anywhere near 1 terabyte. So any of these data limits ought to be sufficient for your needs. Right now, AT&T is touting its fiber service. They're laying fiber lines in the area. That's going to cost an additional $30 a month if you take that. I don't know that fiber is actually going to buy you any additional speed or anything like that, because unless they're actually going to lay fiber lines from the street into your house, the throughput you're going to get is going to be limited by the wires going into your house. Then as we look at Xfinity, the same, it's pretty comparable. So what you're looking at is you can just eliminate the cable cost, the package cost, and stick with these as your starting point. So when you're doing your budget, how much is the difference between what you're paying now and if you have to pay for these internet costs? And probably, as I said before, you're probably already paying for the internet anyway. So that's kind of a sunk cost. What are you going to need to cut the cable? Well, the first one is the easy one. This is a digital antenna, also known as a high definition antenna. And they range anywhere from $20 up to $150 for an outdoor antenna. Indoor antenna just basically plugs into your television, and you have to find a place that picks up the most signal that you can, just like a traditional rabbit ears antenna. Then, of course, putting one on your roof is just like having the big aerial that we're familiar with from our younger days. And they even make antennas that are attic antennas. So it probably doesn't get as good a signal, but as an outdoor antenna, but it's hidden. Now, of course, this is only going to pick up local programming, but it's amazing because what you do is you hook up your antenna and then you have your television scan for channels. And whereas you think about local television stations, we have maybe a half dozen or so. Well, that's not true, because all of these stations have these substations, as I call them. So for instance, channel 5, you'll get the regular channel 5, but then you may get 2 or 3 additional. There's be a channel 5.1, which is the main one. And then like 5.2 will be weather 24 hours a day. 5.3 will be old television shows. I know that channel 5, one of their substations, shows Westerns 24 hours a day. And pretty much all the stations are like that. You'll have multiple substations within the stations. Now, when you do that scan, you may end up with finding 80 or 90 channels and sub channels. But again, it's kind of like your cable packages. How many of those are actually going to be useful to you? Because a lot of them are things like shopping channels and religious channels and channels in languages that you don't speak, though sometimes the Hispanic channels are more interesting than the English channels I found. So again, you have all that variety there that you can choose from. In this case, though, you're not paying anything for it. It's absolutely free once you have the antenna. And another thing to consider is the antenna that you get, what will it pick up? Local channels broadcast on three formats: UHF and VHF, and what's called high V, which is high definition VHF. Most of them do UHF and VHF, just like in the old days. Channel 4 does broadcast in high V. The antenna that we've got in our house does not pick up high V. So we can usually get, depending on the weather and who's holding the antenna, it's one of those things where, you hold it to get the best signal a lot of the times. But we can't get channel 4 because it won't pick up high V. Haven't really missed it. So that's the free way of getting television. What if you're not going to go that way? What if you're actually going to go with internet? Well, the first thing you're going to need is a router. And if you're already connected to the internet, you've already got a router in your house. Now you can use the router that's provided to you by your cable company or your internet provider. We won't call them cable companies anymore, internet provider. Or you can go out and buy your own, one that's compatible with your internet provider. I don't really recommend that because these routers usually cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $250. The rental on them usually is about $7 or $8 a month. So you can go through a lot of months without making up the cost of the router. And I'll talk a little bit later about the switches that I've made, but I switched our plan just recently, actually because of doing research for this program. And so as I'm increasing my internet speed, they're providing me a new router that's needed for that speed. So if I own the router that I currently am using, I just have a router on my hands to I don't know, maybe use it as a boat anchor or something. So anyway, first thing you're going to need is a router, which I think in most cases, most people already have. Then you're going to need a streaming device. And I'm going to show you the most popular streaming devices over the next few minutes. Roku is the leading brand of streaming devices by far. And they start out as low as $30. All of these pick up pretty much the same channels. They have the same opportunities to load new apps and that sort of thing. The main difference is the amount of memory they have and how complex the remotes are and that sort of thing. So the Roku Express for $30, it's very simple setup. Roku is probably the easiest of all of the devices to set up. It comes with a high-speed HDMI cable to plug it into your television. It does high-definition video. It has a fairly simple remote. No big bells and whistles to the remote. It's just a remote. Then for $50, and right now I found this Roku streaming stick plus is on sale for $40, I think through the end of this month. But this by far, and this and the Roku streaming stick 4K, which is also $40, are the #1 recommended streaming devices for beginners. All of the different YouTube channels and experts that I checked on in preparing this program, just about all of them said that the Roku streaming stick is the best to get started. It has high performance portability. You can't beat this sort of thing because all you do is plug it into your television, into the HDMI slot in the back of your television, and then you have to have an electric cable to power it. It has long range wireless, so it's wireless from your router. You can have it pretty much anywhere in the house. Again, it's great for wall mounted televisions because it does just plug into the television. It streams HD, 4K, and the high definition resolution HDR. This comes with a voice remote, and it has TV controls, And basically the TV controls turn your television on and off and also adjust the volume. So whenever you see TV controls, that's pretty much what they're talking about. Then kind of the top of the line almost is the Roku Ultra. It's $100. It also has wireless connectivity, picks up all all Dolby stereo and Bluetooth. The interesting thing this one has on its remote is a lost remote finder. And Alice will tell you that's probably something we need in our family. We're constantly losing the remotes to our streaming devices. It streams just about any kind of video that you could ask for. And then this has a voice remote with TV controls, private listening. So it actually has a plug-in in the remote control that you can plug earbuds into so that you can listen without everybody else around you hearing it. And then also with this one, you can create your own personal shortcuts to go to the stations that you want to get to quickly. One thing I will say about Roku, actually a couple of things I'll say about Roku. One is Roku is totally brand agnostic. It does not promote it. There is a Roku channel which has movies and old television shows and that sort of thing, but it doesn't promote its own products over and above any other product. In fact, with the Roku, if you know a little bit about how to search out channels and all, there are people who have created their own private channels, and you can go through and you can find those on a Roku, and so it doesn't even have to be a corporate channel to pick up on a Roku. The next one is Amazon Fire TV. This is one, if you are a member of Amazon Prime, this is a good deal for you because it dovetails very well into being an Amazon Prime member. The Fire Stick, it's $40, a little bit more than the Roku, but it has the remote with the TV controls. It has stereo audio, supports HD, and it's again is one of these behind the TV designs where you just plug it into your television HDMI slot. And then kind of at the top of the line for the Fire is the Fire TV Cube. And this has Ethernet support. So in our case, here in the house, our router is on the same entertainment center as our big television. So our Fire Cube is hardwired from the router with an Ethernet cable to the cube. It has hand-free voice control, which can be aggravating because every time you say the word Alexa, you may have heard that. That was Alexa coming on, waiting for me to tell it what to do. I don't know that. And she doesn't know that. It's very aggravating. Sometimes she gets in a conversation when you don't want her to. Anyway, it supports Ultra HD, just about every kind of video that you can think of. It also comes with free cloud support and storage for digital content that's purchased from Amazon. The interesting thing is that the screensaver for it, if you have Amazon Photo, and if you're an Amazon Prime member, you may not know it, but you can store an unlimited number of photographs on Amazon Photo for free. So that's a part of Amazon Prime that if you haven't been taking advantage of it, you really should. But anyway, it will link to your Amazon Photo gallery and use that as a screensaver if you wanted to. So it just flips through all your old photographs, except for today when they've been having troubles nationwide with that feature. So instead it's just showing their pictures. But anyway, again, if you're an Amazon Prime member, this may be the way that you want to go because it does fit very well with Amazon Prime. The one thing about it is, just like every Amazon product, it's going to promote Amazon before anything else. When you turn it on, the first things that are going to come up are Amazon programming. And of course, there's a lot of Amazon programming out there that is available for Amazon Prime members as part of your membership. So why not take advantage of it if you can? The next one is Google Chromecast. And up until recently, the Google Chromecast was not very highly thought of, but they've kind of redone it and repackaged it. That now comes with Google TV, which is kind of like the Roku channel. It is very highly touted now as one of the best starter streaming devices. It does come with Google TV, as I said, supports all the different audio formats, has all high definition video, and it comes with a voice remote that is integrated to Google Assistant. So if you've got an Android phone, you probably are familiar with the Assistant, which is kind of like Siri on iPhone. And it basically, well, it does the same thing that the others do. On the high end, if you are an iPhone person, you have an iPhone or an iPad, everything Apple, there's Apple TV 4K. It's $180 for a 32 gigabyte storage. I think the 64 gigabyte is $200. But it has all of the Apple integrations, the iCloud, all that, those things. If you're an iPhone person, you're probably familiar with. I'm not, I'm an Android person, but it has a Siri search. It has has a multi-directional navigation, whereas most of these, the toggles on them just go up and down, left and right. This one goes all around and every which way. But anyway, and then of course you can stream multimedia content wirelessly, just like you would with any of your Apple devices. Again, if you're really into Apple products, this might be the way to go for you. Now, those are the leading streaming devices, standalone streaming devices. However, you may already have a streaming device. If you have a smart TV, or you've got a fairly new Blu-ray device, DVD player, they may be all you need as far as a streaming device is concerned. Smart TVs have at least some connectivity to the leading internet services. You see that picture over there? It shows Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, YouTube, Disney Plus, and then there's also a way to subscribe to additional ones. So that may be all you need. It may be exactly the same thing as for instance, what you would get with a Roku. Blu-ray players, I found they come with some internet connectivity, but it's not as user-friendly as a regular streaming device. And then finally, you can actually buy an Android internet box, which is pretty much like just buying an Android phone. You plug it in, you turn it on, and it's going to come with the same sort of things that you find on your phone when you start out. You would go to the Google Play Store and download the different stations and apps and all for that. That's a little bit more techy, but it's a you know, if you're really a gamer or something like that, that's not a bad way to go. But that's kind of beyond my capabilities. Though I got to say that Dynalink thing that's pictured right there is only $37. So it's not an expensive way to go. So those are some of the leading streaming devices that you could use. Now, content. What can you look at? Of course, the leading one is YouTube. Now, my family will tell you I probably watch YouTube 80% of the time that I'm watching anything. I love YouTube. YouTube has over 720,000 hours of new content added daily. Of course, 99.99% of that you probably don't care about. But if you can't find something to watch on YouTube, you're just not trying. There are commercials at the beginning, usually of the videos. For $12, you can go commercial free. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't get any kind of commercials, because a lot of times when you go into one of these videos, the person that's doing the video will say, you know, this video is sponsored by, and they'll do their own little commercial. But as far as just regular commercials, you won't have it if you go with the YouTube Premium. Fairly new programming is NBC Peacock. They've started putting all of their old programming on it. A lot of the current programming for NBC is on the NBC Peacock. And that's $5 a month. Not too bad. You know, if you think if the NBC is something that you watch a lot with your cable package, you know, for $5 a month, you can still watch NBC. This next one is really unique. It's Hoopla, and it has free borrowing of movies, audiobooks, music, television, comics. And the way you get into that is you have a valid library card. I got on the Hoopla just the other night to see how it worked. I didn't have an active library card, so it took me to the Rutherford County Library system so I could sign up for a library card, gave me an e-library card number, and I went into Hoopla and signed in and had no problem. So that's a really unique one. Crackle, which is owned by Sony and, strangely enough, Chicken Soup for the Soul. It shows free movies and television, has some original programming. It's going to be commercial supported, like most of these are. IMDb TV, this branched off from the International Movie Database website, and it has streaming services for a lot of the old popular classic shows from the 70s and 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Tubi is, again, another on-demand library. They've got over 20,000 movies and shows. Vudu has 10,000, over 10,000 movies and shows, so a lot to choose from. A lot of them will be the same. You go on these channels and you see a lot of the same movies on them, but a lot of them will be different. Pluto TV, which is a fairly recent one, it has a decent selection of on-demand, but the big thing with it is it also streams live TV. A lot of them are channels that I probably wouldn't have watched when I was had them on cable, but if you really want to watch live streaming TV, Pluto TV is available, and it's free. Zumo, again, the thing with Zumo, it's streaming live, but it does news and sports. So that's where you may get some of your sports that you want. Popcorn Flicks, this has older but recognizable movie titles and television series. Again, usually it's from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and that sort of thing. And then finally, you got Western Mania. And what can I say about it? That just shows old Western movies 24 hours a day. But that may be what you're into. Now, some examples of live streaming. So these are all going to be, you're going to pay for these. These are going to be what really takes the place of your cable programming. The probably the most popular one right now is YouTube TV. So YouTube TV has over 85 channels. It gives you unlimited cloud DVR. It is currently $64.99 a month. The thing about YouTube TV is it started a year or so ago, and it was about $49 a month. And it has gradually gone up to those now 65. So you have to kind of watch what you're paying for on YouTube. And are you getting what you really is worth it? Is it worth it for you? But again, cannot emphasize enough that there are no contracts involved in these. So if you try YouTube TV and you decide it's not for you, you can cancel it. And then the next month you can pick something else up. For instance, you might pick up Sling TV. Sling has 40 or 50 plus channels, gives you 50 hours of DVR, and it's $35 a month. Philo is 63 channels, so it's a very you've got to look at the channels and see if they meet your needs, but it does give unlimited DVR for $20 a month. Now, this next one is kind of unique because Hulu is an on-demand service, so you can go in and you can pull up the Hulu library that's got all these television programs and movies stored, but also you can get the Hulu Plus Live TV. and that has 75 plus live channels for $65 a month. Vidco is another one. It's a fairly new one. It's 95 plus channels. Fubo has 200 plus channels and offers some DVR capability for $65 a month. And the new player on the block is Paramount Plus. This is what CBS has been moving to. In the past, they've had CBS All Access and it was I think $5 or $6 a month. But Paramount now Plus now has CBS content. It's got Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, basically all of what Paramount owns. It also gives you access to NFL games and the CBS News, and that's $5.99 a month with commercials. If you want to go ad free, that's $10 a month. And this is, again, we're talking about the future. This is kind of the way that television is going. You see that we saw it before about NBC Peacock. That's the NBC programming. And now you've got Paramount is basically the way that CBS is going with theirs. So I thought I had turned that phone off, but I'm sorry. It may, in the future, you may not have any choice as far as broadcast television is concerned. They may all be just you buy each one separately instead of having them bundled. Okay, getting close to the end here. Examples of on-demand streaming services. These are the classic, what you think about, HBO, Netflix, and that sort of thing. Netflix is $9 or $18, depending on the quality of the picture that you're going to get and the number of devices that you're going to be able to run at one time. I think the limit is 3 devices at one time. Hulu is $6 a month if you want it ad supported, or it's $12 a month if you want it to be ad free, and that's a limit of two devices at one time. Prime Video, so this is a standalone version of what we're talking about with the Amazon Fire. It's $9 a month for video alone, but why not for $13 a month get a Prime Amazon Prime membership, which includes Prime Video plus the free 2-day shipping, access to the Amazon movie catalog, free use of Kindle books, I think 1 a month, Amazon Photo, all the different features of the Amazon Prime membership. So that's for another $4 a month from the Prime Video. Disney Plus is $8 a month, but if you want Disney Plus with ESPN Plus and Hulu, that's $14 a month. HBO Max is $15 a month. BritBox, this is a really popular one with Alice and me anyway, $7 a month, and it shows a lot of it's BBC and ITV British programming, past and present. And then its competitor is Acorn TV. It's $6 a month, and it has additional British programming that BritBox doesn't have. And sometimes one will have it for a while and then it'll switch to the other. So I don't know exactly how that works. For those of you who have refused to ever grow up, and why should you, there's Boomerang, and that shows all the different cartoons that we used to watch when we were kids. Huckleberry Hound, Yogi the Bear, the Flintstones, even into the ones that our children watched when they were young. Then on the other end of the spectrum is Criterion Channel, and that shows classic and award-winning movies, and it's international. It's all over the world. So if you like to watch movies that have subtitles, the Criterion Channel may be for you. And then, just as an example, Shudder. If you like horror films 24 hours a day, then that's what you get with Shudder. So that's just a few examples of the things that are out there available without a cable package. And again, I want to emphasize that just about any of them, if you try it and you don't like it, you just cancel it, and you may, it may run for however, usually it's a month long subscription. So you may have to wait till the end of the month before you lose that channel. So what should you do? How do you go about this cord cutting? Well, the first thing you need to do is set up your streaming budget. Look at what you're paying for now as far as cable is concerned. Again, look and see what internet you have, and then decide how much you want to spend, how much you want to have for the internet plus the add-ons that we've talked about. Determine what are your absolutely must-have channels and services, and then look at the different. You can go on the internet and look and see what internet services, paid for or otherwise, have those channels. And then you can kind of make up your combination of, okay, I've got to buy this and I've got to buy this and I got to buy this to get the channels that I actually want. The big advantage to doing this is you can try it before you take the plunge. And I absolutely recommend this. The strategy I would use is, if you're really serious about doing this and trying to cut the cable, is buy a low-end streaming device like a Roku or an Amazon Fire or the Google TV or Google Chromecast, and connect it to your television, and then disconnect your cable box and see if you can go a month or so without having to reconnect that cable box to get the programming that you want. That goes a long way to tell you whether or not this is something that you can really live with. You can also take advantage of the free trials. Just about all of these different services that we've been talking about offer free trials. Be a 7-day trial, a 2-day trial, some of them either a month-long trial. So you can sign up, try it out. The big thing is make sure you write down when the trial is going to be over with, so you know if you don't want it that you're going to cancel it before the trial is over, so you don't get charged. Because one of the things when you sign up for these free trials, they are going to ask for payment information, and it's one of these deals where if you don't cancel it, they're going to start charging you for it. So make sure you make a notation of when you have to cancel, not to have to pay for it. And then finally, when you're ready to cut the cable, contact your cable company and tell them that you want to go internet, and they're going to tell you, oh, wait a minute, you've been such a good customer to us that we'll do this for you. What if we give you this price on your cable package? And that may be fine with you. You might decide, okay, I'm not going to cut the cable because now I can get a cable package that is affordable to me and gives me what I want. So cutting the cable in a lot of cases for a lot of people is just a strategy to get them a better pricing on what they currently have. So even if you do decide to cut the cable, and this is where I was talking about what I did just recently, internet providers are constantly changing what's available on their internet plans to stay competitive. They've changed their pricing structure on different speeds, the data usage, and other plans. When we got into the internet plan that we had up until a day or two ago, we signed up for unlimited data because at that time, AT&T had a 300 megabytes per month or gigabytes per month data limit. And then after that, you had to pay additional amounts for little packets of data. So we signed up for that. And in the last year or so, they've now changed the data limits on most of their plans to a terabyte, which again, I said before, hardly anybody's going to use a whole terabyte of data. So I went online and dropped the unlimited data, and then moved my cable speed up several notches. It's actually 3 times more than what I originally had. And I'm going to end up in the long run paying $10 a month less for my internet service. So even if you aren't going to cut the cable, but you've got internet service, it's probably not a bad idea to every once in a while to check with them and see how things have changed, if you can get a better deal. And if you decide you're not going to cut the cord, as I said before, you can use this as a strategy. Contact your cable company and say, I'm really thinking about getting rid of cable television, and ask them to talk to a retention or loyalty specialist. These are the people who are responsible for keeping you as a customer, and they may be able to find a discount for you so that the cutting the cable is not necessary anymore. You can just stick with what you've got, but at a lower cost. Recommended resource, if you want to look more into this, is a YouTube channel that's called Michael Saves. His website is michaelsaves.com. This guy is primarily, he does financial videos, but he also does a lot of cutting the cord videos. And I have found him to be probably the most understandable and comprehensive of all of the YouTube channels. And believe me, I looked at a lot of them in putting this together. So then go to Michael Saves, and he'll tell you a lot of the things that I've been telling you. All right. Any questions?
I do have one, Bruce.
All right.
You were talking about digital antennas, and I bought a powered digital antenna for use up on the mountain in my Eagle, thinking that I could pick up Chattanooga. And when I scanned, and I scanned multiple times, I often came back with the same 8 channels, and they were the strangest religious channels I have ever encountered. But I did not get any of the major channels out of Chattanooga, and it's about 60 miles. No, it's not even that. It's 40 miles, and the antenna said it would, capture up to 120 miles. So is that standard for a powered digital antenna?
Well, a lot depends on the antenna itself. Of course, the better the antenna, the longer the range that it will pick up. But a lot of the digital antennas are just like the old rabbit ears. You've got to be in line of sight of the broadcast tower to pick up. So probably what it is, when you're on Mount Eagle, you're on the wrong side of the mountain.
Yeah, that could
if you were going to go over to the other side, going down to South Pittsburgh, you might pick up every Chattanooga channel. You might try taking it and just moving it around, turning it around to other directions and all, because it is a directional antenna.
Yeah, I did move in multiple directions and places in the house, and I think you're right about line of sight and not being, having that, and I think that's probably why we got.
Yeah, another possibility is, you can put it on a 200-foot tower, and might be able to pick it up that way.
Yeah. Hey, David has a question.
I do. Oh, there, now I'm unmuted. About the only channel that I can't live without is public TV. And now a neighbor of mine and I both at the same time upgraded our ATT. We both had Uverse. We upgraded to the fastest, internet package they got. It's ATT 1000. It's great. But she went with the new ATT Direct, and I did not. And I still get public TV, and she can't get it. So I'm wondering, does public TV have its own streaming? I know it's got Passport, but I want the live TV. I want the evening news. So I would be reluctant to give that up. So do you have any idea about servers and whether they host public TV or not?
I'd have to look into it's channel 8, isn't it?
Yes.
Nashville Public Broadcast.
Yes.
Let me look into it and see. I know that on, for instance, on the Fire TV, that they have an app that is public broadcasting.
Oh,
Again, I know a digital antenna. I don't know where you're located since you're kind of in the middle of downtown.
yeah.
If a digital antenna would pick it up or not, but I know that Channel 8 does broadcast,
Mhm.
and you might be able to pick it up with a digital antenna. But let me check on that and see what services might have public broadcasting.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Alice.
I was just going to comment on Hank's question. I wonder how the Chattanooga channels are broadcasting. Could it be like with us and Channel 4, and since they broadcast in HP, then and we can't get them, that maybe that's it. Can you? I guess you could call the networks and ask them how they broadcast, couldn't you?
Actually, you can go in. There is a website that you can go into, and Hank, I'll send you a link to that. You can go in and put your zip code in, and it will tell you what channels are available, and you put in the range that you're looking for. I think it defaults to 30 miles, but you could go in and put in 80 miles and see what comes up as far as Chattanooga is concerned and what you ought to be able to pick up.
Okay, all right. You know, Bruce, at some point we had a conversation about cutting the cord, and one of the things that you mentioned in terms of trying to control the cost was sharing among family members who may not be in the same residence.
Mm-hmm.
And so could you talk about that a bit? I know you can do it with Netflix, I believe. Can you do it with others?
Yeah. Now I'll tell you this, and I we're gonna put this on YouTube, so I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be out there for all the world to hear. But what I'm gonna tell you technically is illegal in the state of Tennessee. Sharing passwords is illegal in the few states in the country that's true. But there's a loophole that you can share within households. We have, for instance, the way we do it is that we pay for BritBox. That's Alice and I pay for BritBox, and we pay for can't remember what else we pay for, but anyway, Jackson pays for Hulu, or the Disney Plus that includes Hulu, and HBO, and James pays for I know the other one we pay for is YouTube Premium. When you go on to those apps, it brings up, it'll tell you who's watching, and it'll be Bruce and Alice, Jackson, and then James, and so we're all set up to share those particular services.
Now, when you say within a household, you don't necessarily mean like the mills in Murfreesboro and the mills in San Antonio.
I consider my family, my immediate family, as my household.
Okay, all right, that helps.
Let's just say James lives in Seattle, so that should answer your question.
Thank you. Yes, it does.
Yeah, Bruce,
Yes.
that's what we do. Our son is in San Francisco area, our daughter's in New York, and we share everything from Amazon Prime to.
We can't do Amazon.
We don't do Amazon Prime, but Disney Plus
And Hulu.
and Hulu, and it works. They're the household.
Last October, when I had to get a new cell phone, we also discovered that with our phone services through AT&T, we get HBO Max free through our AT&T phone service. So make sure you check with your provider to see if there are services that they provide that you may not be aware of that you really ought to take advantage of.
they had something when we bought the last iPhone that was, what was that?
That was just for a year.
Just for a
free
year-
Apple.
Free Apple.
For a
yeah.
year.
Hmm.
Then it's gone. Then you have to pay.
Well, I think that's the same with the HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't recall if there's a time limit on the HBO Max or not.
Mhm.
Hey, here's a futuristic question. My understanding is that when SpaceX and Elon Musk send up a government satellite package,
Mhm.
that he sends up his own, and he may send up multiple satellites in orbit. And I believe that his intention is to establish space-based internet.
That is correct.
Does that ring? That's correct. Okay.
That is correct.
Do you see that as an alternative to cable at some point?
Well, I mean, that's if you've got the internet, that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how that'll work if, if you'll pull it directly from the satellite or if there'll be some sort of ground connection and all. I think Sandy has satellite direct TV or Dish Network One, and that's one reason she's wanting to cut the cable is because of the lousy satellite reception that she gets. So that's going to be a limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Alice, I think the HBO Plus is forever. If you got a new Apple phone, and I got an Apple 11, I got HBO Plus, and it seems to be permanent. So,
Is that through AT&T?
yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to check that then because that's where our service comes from.
Well, actually, my phone service is Verizon. My phone is an Apple TV. It's because it's an Apple or a phone. It's because it's an Apple phone.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
our phone service is through AT&T, and what we got was HBO Max.
Forever.
I think so.
Okay. All right.
I couldn't say for sure because Alice and Jackson are the iPhone people, so I wasn't involved in that.
Well, I'm sure going to make that call.
Well, Bruce, I'm excited to know that I have already partially cut the cord. I did not realize I had done that. But the TV I bought soon timed out, and it would no longer communicate, I guess, with the internet. I'm not quite sure what the problem was, but my brother-in-law was here and he installed Roku for me. And so now I'm able to use that as well as my traditional TV. So I'm already partway there, aren't I?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up that website. Okay, so because I also got another question about that. The website to go to is antennaweb.org.
Okay.
And then you put in your zip code, your address or zip code, and it should come up with a list of the over-the-air channels that are available in your area.
All right. Super. Good.
Bruce, isn't it true the antennas come with various ranges that you pay depending on how much you want to pay? You can get antennas that have a broader range than others.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things with the digital antennas. One is the cost, and the other one is, location.
Mhm.
But as I said before, if you get one that is the outdoor antenna that goes on the roof of your house, that obviously is going to pick up better than one that's just one of the flat ones. But even with the flat one, indoor antennas, you pay more, but all of them plug in. All of them have an amplifier. And so it just depends on the quality of the amplifier that you're looking for to see whether or not what range it will pick up.
Where do they plug into an electric outlet or to your
Yeah.
TV?
So what they do is they'll have two cords. One plugs into your television, and then there's an electrical cord to run the amplifier.
I have a receiver, so if I get like a Roku Fire Stick,
Mhm.
would I plug it into my receiver rather than the TV?
Yeah, if in our main the one that has the Fire TV Cube,
Yeah.
everything is plugged into our receiver and goes from the receiver to the television. And the nice, if you're using the smart HDMI cables, the newer HDMI cables, they will communicate with each other.
Oh.
So if I tell the Fire TV, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, and I'll say, Alexa, go to YouTube. And so it automatically, hang on, I got to go turn it off.
We heard it. Yeah, she's going.
Pause. So, it will turn the TV on, it will turn the receiver on, it'll go to the channel that you want. If you have the new HDMI cables.
But best I remember, the only thing she can't do is turn the TV on, right?
No.
She will turn the TV on?
Yeah.
I learned something new. Thank you.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes.
I have a question.
Mhm.
You hear me?
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was muted or not. No, I'm not. I think the biggest question we have is content. And I was wondering if there is a website or some other information source where we can say, here's the show we want to watch. How do I stream it?
Yeah.
I would like to say that there is a source, but there's not really. There's a number of sources that you can go to and get the lineups for the different services.
Mhm.
I tell you what, I will. I'll try to put together a list and get it out to you.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that we haven't got to the point yet where they're all coordinating with each other, and because they're trying. Truthfully, they're trying to pull business from each other. There's just a limited number.
That's good. The other thing is that the last time Comcast raised my price, I called and complained and told them I was going to cut the cord. And of course, they came back and gave me a special deal. But it's an exchange, and in exchange, I had to promise to maintain the contract for a year. That year's not up yet. I'm wondering if there's some way I can get out of that contract, or just have to pay whatever it costs to get out of it.
Again, it depends on Comcast. I'm sure there's a buyout, but the buyout may be more. May be more than you want to pay. But if you call them and say, I want to switch, I want to drop my cable, but I want to stick with your the internet service.
Right.
And then you say, and I need to increase my internet speed, kind of throw them a bone. They're going to want to keep your business. Again, the key here, and I've learned this just over the last few months or so, the key is talking to a retention specialist.
I see.
Those people that's their job, is to keep you as a customer in some way. So if you're saying, okay, I'll stick out my contract to the end of the year, and then I'm going to switch over to AT&T. Well, depends on the specialists themselves. But you get a good one, they'll work out a deal with you so that they'll keep you as a customer.
Okay. And do you recommend increasing internet speed if you go strictly through streaming service? I mean, I have Netflix and it works okay. It works fine, but sometimes it'll hang up or start this tiling effect and everything. Is that?
Well, I'll tell you, the recommendations that all of the recommendations I saw said 50 to 75 megabytes per second, but the service that we had until recently was 25. And again, we were running 3 televisions at a time, and very seldom that we have much buffering. So I've increased it now to 75, which is the highest in our area. Again, that's one of those things when I was showing you the cost of the different services and all, you know, in downtown Murfreesboro, David can get the 1,000 megabytes per second service. Out where we live, they haven't upgraded the lines so that we can get that speed. Now they're putting in fiber, and of course they'd love us to pay an extra $30 a month to get the fiber, which will be faster. But I think probably 50 to 75 Mbps is more than enough.
Okay, thanks.
Bruce, did I understand you to say you getting 75 from AT&T?
Uh-huh.
They told me they couldn't get me anything higher than 45, and I'm having trouble with that.
Oh, well, again, depends on where you live and what because when I went online and I was trying to research it and try to get the different plans with AT&T, it just kept coming up and saying, oh, you've already got an account, so this is what's available to you. It wouldn't just give me a blanket, this is what's offered, we offer. It's just, this is what you can do. You know, we were doing 25 and they don't even offer that anymore. It was a typical AT&T thing, you know, in between the time we signed up for it and when I checked the other day, our plan wasn't even available anymore. But for you, Sandy, if you're streaming alone, just 45 ought to be fine.
Well, but apparently it's the number of devices that are connected that makes a difference.
Well, but it's the number of devices that are connected and being used at any given time.
Well, they tell me if it's on, if it's plugged in, it's being used. It's sucking up megabytes or whatever it is.
Well,
and I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's the same sort of argument of if you're, you know, if you got something plugged into an outlet, is it pulling electricity? I don't think so. Now, some people say, you know, you got people who are afraid to plug things in because they think that there's electricity escaping from the outlets. So maybe you got one of those people from AT&T.
Maybe.
Well, on the other hand, if you have a mobile phone and an iPad, you don't turn those off every time you use them. So they're on. So and that's all the time.
Yeah, and that's true, Sandy. If you've got your phone and a tablet and all that on, it is going to be pulling some of the speed. It's not going to be that much.
Even Alexa pulls speed.
Yeah, don't say it too loud or she'll come on again.
Sandy, maybe what you need to do is when you call and talk to AT&T again, is tell them you want to talk to a retention specialist to make sure you get somebody who wants to keep you as a customer instead of Joe Blow, who is just a tech.
Bruce, this was so helpful, and I particularly liked your notes, your outline. Is there a way that we could get a copy of that just to remind us? I didn't take notes. Well, I did take notes, but I wondered if you'd be willing to share that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a PowerPoint, so I can email it to anybody who wants it.
I would appreciate it.
Are there more questions?
No, I'll take a PowerPoint mail too. That was very good presentation, Bruce. That was excellent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had Hank on my back, you know. Hank is definitely former military because he He checks up on you.
Well, Bruce, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done. And if I refer to you as professor from now on, it's well earned.
Well,
Couple
and
of
before
Yeah.
we go off, Hank, again, I want to reiterate, if you're wanting to make a change and you're not sure about it, I am willing to talk to you at whatever length we need to put you at your mind at ease. I may not know all the answers, but we'll find them.
Fantastic. That's a great offer. That can be very helpful. Let's see. Before we exit, I have made a list of everybody who signed on for this. I'll be sending out by email an evaluation sheet, and would appreciate it if you fill it out and send it back to me. Things coming up in the future. In August, we're going to have another presentation by David Rowe, and it's going to be on the history of St. Paul's, which should be incredibly interesting. And this program that Bruce has just completed has been recorded, and it'll be up on the YouTube channel, and David's will as well. And so I think that's a valuable asset to be able to pull these up in a month or a year and look at them and get information that would not be available otherwise. Also, looking forward to a senior day trip to the Bicentennial Mall coming up in July. Haven't nailed down the date on that yet, but look for that. So that's all that I have. If Bruce, do you have any further things?
No, just to say that whether you want it or not, when Hank sends out the evaluation email, I will use that, and we'll send the PowerPoint out to everybody who's on the email.
Okay, good. That would be great. Well, let's exit with a prayer, if you will. If you'd pray with me. Thank you, Lord, for this time together. We thank you for these educational Zoom events, for Zoom coffee and conversation, live coffee and conversation, upcoming day trips, and all the things that you help us to do to maintain contact with seniors. This opportunity to learn, and especially for Bruce Gibson's willingness and ability to teach, we thank you, Lord. Watch over us as we hopefully are exiting this pandemic. Pour blessings upon those in the world in areas where vaccines are not readily available, and bring to them the resources that they need to survive it. Across your world, and today pray especially for Israel and Palestine and the violence being experienced there. All of this we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce.
I got you.
Thanks,
Welcome.
Bruce.
Thank
Very
you
well.
both.
See you soon.
Thank you for signing on. We'll see you all later.